I'm Jay Pitts, a real estate broker, agent, leader, and investor. For the last decade, I've navigated the craziest of real estate markets this country has ever seen, selling over 2,000 homes, moving in and out of markets, always ahead of the curve. And now I'm bringing that perspective to you. This is your resource, and Real Talk About Real Estate starts right now. We're back, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Resource, Real Talk About Louisville Real Estate. I'm your host, Jay Pitts, broker owner at RE/MAX Premier Properties, leader of JT Pitts and Associates. Little housekeeping before we get started today. I've tried to keep that brief at the beginning of the last few episodes, but I must let you know that you can stream us live on YouTube just about every week, sitting here broadcasting from this very desk on Wednesdays, right around lunchtime. You can find us live there. You can also find us streaming on demand just a little bit after the show wraps on pretty much anywhere you podcast from. But we would appreciate your extra special attention on two specific platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcast or iTunes. Any 5-star reviews, shares, likes, any of the things that you can do to engage with the show on those platforms, we would certainly appreciate. You can find us on all the socials, and we'll detail that at the end of the episode. And without further ado, I would love to just get into today's topic. It hits me often. I think about it, I discuss it, we go in depth with our agents here at RE/MAX Premier Properties and on the team at JT Pitts and Associates about one specific thing. One specific thing comes up more than most. I've talked to you about it in recent weeks as we've discussed the 4 things that we discuss as a management team when evaluating a prospective agent to join the team. I've talked to you about it as one of the 3 things or a principal reason for the success that agents have in today's very challenging real estate market. So it just bubbles to the surface so often, okay? And that is the fact that problem solving, your ability to solve problems, and it could even be said in another way. I tell you quite often that, a real estate agent's level of success is typically rooted in experience. Experience and education are some of the things that you can use to top grade your business. In fact, there is no substitute for experience. The only plausible substitute is education, but education is no match. Problem solving, okay? The ability to negotiate is incredibly impactful and predictive of an agent's success. And negotiating is nothing more than a problem-solving exercise. So problem solving. If you are a problem solver, you are going to get far in this industry. This, once again, I've said it so many times, is not complex. It's simple. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it's simple. Negotiating, solving problems is not complex. I'm going to give you today 5 truths, 5 pieces of information, understanding, tips, tactics, tricks, what have you, just 5 things that you need to internalize about problem solving that will aid you in having a more bulletproof real estate business as we stare down the face of maybe a retracting market for the first time in a long time, potential recession. Again, I've detailed my feelings on the market and where we're headed ad nauseum. I'm not going to go into it in depth today. I will just suffice it to say that supply is short and will remain that way. Demand is long and will remain that way. It will taper off. Rates are going up. Yes, all these things have impact. Maybe in some isolated areas, prices could draw back. But more than anything, I just expect prices to probably not quite run the appreciation levels we've seen for the last few years. That is what a drawback looks like to me, but you need to know how to solve problems now more than ever. Okay. And the really interesting thing that I'd like to highlight for you today is real estate agents should learn what a logical fallacy is. When considering how to become a better problem solver, how to become a better negotiator, you should understand what a logical fallacy is. A logical fallacy is just that. It's failed logic. It's a logic that does not hold water. Okay, but logical fallacies are present and can be used in reverse order, okay, for problem solving and for negotiating. The definition, I just Googled it. Logic fallacies are flawed, deceptive, or false arguments that can be proven wrong with sound reasoning. There are two main types of fallacies. A formal fallacy is an argument with a premise and conclusion that doesn't hold up to scrutiny, and an informal fallacy is an error in the form, content, or context of an argument. So, you know, most people don't think logically, and you can use that to your advantage. So my 5 tips today are rooted a lot in logical fallacy and working backwards to help solve problems and take advantage of people's assumptions that just may not be true. Okay, so here, let's get right into it with number 1. And this is a fallacy. This is rooted in a fallacy that is quite interesting and very much at play in a sales environment. I use the example of a car lot. Okay, if you've ever been to a car lot to purchase a vehicle, you have probably seen the appeal to authority fallacy at work. So the appeal to authority or false authority is essentially that the argument is made that because someone of influence or in a high-powered position or a well-respected position holds a certain opinion, that should be accepted as fact by the person the information is being presented to. So for example, you go to a car lot, you test drive a vehicle, you talk to the salesperson, you like it, you discuss it, they walk over, they run your credit, they give you a price, you say, I don't really like that price, I'd appreciate, this price instead. And the salesperson looks at you and he goes, I'm so sorry, Jay, there's no way, I just can't get there. I just can't get there. Would you do X instead? No, I can't do X. I need to do what I just said before. This is my top dollar. I'll just take a look at another dealer if you can't work that. Well, don't walk out the door. Hold on a second. Let me go see if my manager can do that. And so essentially what you're seeing at play here is this kind of turnover of influence from the salesperson as the decision maker to the sales manager or the man at the desk or what have you. He's appealing to authority for approval of something that he supposedly can't do. Okay, so understanding appeal to authority and play in real estate is when the broker calls and attempts to negotiate, a dispute to a resolution when the agent may have said the same exact thing to the client, may have said the same exact thing to the cross-selling agent, okay? But it doesn't carry weight, even though the solution may have been valid. It doesn't carry weight because the person delivering the message does not come from a place of authority, okay? All we're talking about with negotiation and problem solving is influence, trying to make ends meet, get two parties that are at odds, whether you are the one negotiating for yourself or on behalf of someone else. You're really just trying to bring two people together. A problem solving exercise is nothing more than a meeting of the minds, an agreement, a, concession of some sort by two parties to a negotiation or a problem to really just get on the same level. And so what you should understand as a real estate agent, and if you're not in an office where this is readily available to you, I apologize. Our industry is full of offices that don't actively and adequately support real estate agents in the right way. But what you should do is go find you a team leader or go find you a broker or a mentor that you can appeal to authority when you've made all the appropriate arguments that should get a buyer and seller or, multiple parties to a transaction to see that their participation is needed to solve a problem. I would also recommend that you use we language in these situations, because that's what the authority is going to do. And what ends up happening if you use we language in your appeal to authority, and then the authority steps into the situation also using we language, you are then transferred that same authority by similarity. What I usually say we should do in these situations, what I suggest we do when this problem arises is X. So you need to co-op the authority that you're appealing to. That can be your broker, that can be your team leader, that can be the underwriter, that can be the appraiser, that can be a third party and held in a place of esteem that has presumably been there and done that and can help you solve your problem. Get you a broker or a team leader that can do that for you. The appeal to authority is an incredible tool to use when it comes to problem solving. Let's go on to number 2, the lesser evil principle. I call this the lesser evil principle because when you're in a conflict or have a problem that is identified, it is only a problem or a conflict because the simple fact that a negative conclusion is possible. A negative conclusion is possible if the problem is not solved in a mutually amicable kind of way. So what I suggest to you is that you present solutions in the order of desirability. We can do nothing. However, it will likely result in this sort of negative outcome. Or we can do it this way. This way is not exactly what either of us want, but it's much better, or the lesser evil, than the outcome we will receive shall we do nothing. You're not presenting a mutually amicable solution as a win for all parties. You're not presenting it as, the best situation for either of the parties. You're actually presenting it as a negative. Our solution isn't what we're looking for. I want to acknowledge that. Okay, you really don't want to replace this septic system. I understand that. But my client really doesn't want to purchase a home with a septic system that is subject to backup with sewage in the basement bathtub within the first 6 months of their purchase. I get it. It's not desirable for either of us. We love this home. We don't want to lose it. However, we can't run the risk of having a failed septic system. And I understand that you don't want to do it. I understand you did nothing to cause this situation, even though they probably did. I understand that. So what we can do here is we can assume the responsibility of having to update the septic at some point in the not too distant future. And you can provide up to 50 to 75% of the cost of that upgrade. It's not quite, what you wanted, and it's not great for us either. And it's not exactly where we hope to be, but we can live with it. What about you? And if we don't do this, if we do nothing, well, then we won't buy the house. We'll move on to buying a property that's not quite as good for us. You'll go back to the market with the understanding and knowledge that you have to disclose the potential failure of the septic system. And you're probably going to get 10 to 15,000 less for your property next time around, or have to replace the septic system. And it's not desirable in any way, shape, or form for either of us. So let's go with the lesser evil. That's what I mean by not presenting a solution that is a win for either party, but presenting a solution that is the lesser evil for both. You see, the reason you don't present it as a positive for either party is because no party wants to accept the fact that the other side got the better end of the draw. If you stake the claim that it's great for them and not good for you, that's not a scenario they're going to believe and trust. They will never come to an agreement with you because they feel like they're having the wool pulled over their eyes. Present your negative with more detail than their negative. Let their imagination run away with them. That's going to happen anyway. If you try to tell them you're giving them a win while taking a loss, they won't believe you and you won't come to an agreement. That's the lesser evil principle. The next one, I'm probably number 3. I'm probably going to, especially from you rather inexperienced in terms of years, real estate agents out there, and I have some rather inexperienced agents in terms of years that have done a lot of transactions that know what I'm talking about. In fact, I was talking to a gentleman just outside my office just a minute ago, right before we started recording, and he suggested that I loop this into the topic today. So Weston, if you're out there, this one's for you. I'm going to lose a lot of you on this one. I'm going to call this the let it breathe principle to negotiating and problem solving. The let it breathe principle. And this is the exact counterintuitive to everything you as a brand new real estate agent wants to do. You as a brand new real estate agent are holding within you all of the negative emotion, all of the anxiety, all of the frustration, all of the hopes, dreams, and aspirations for your clients. Most of them are buyers, by the way, which are also inherently less experienced, more anxious, more frustrated, and more scared. So you're absorbing, you are a sponge, you are a vacuum cleaner of anxiety. You are sucking up all that emotion and holding it within you. It's like that old like Bruce Lee movie where they glow, you know? I forget the name of that. I'll come up with it. Rick James was in that movie. It's where you just exude all this anxiety and negative emotion for your clients. That's what you do. And so anytime a problem happens, okay, you're so used to being in action that you just want to do. You're the hamster on the wheel, just running, doing, fixing, solving problems. You think that effort is going to solve every problem. But the truth is, sometimes you just need to let it breathe. When a problem presents itself, you need to take a step back. You need to take a deep breath and understand how powerful silence is, both literally and figuratively. When you're in a situation where there is no readily available solution, a complex situation involving a lot of emotion, a lot of, personality, you need to take a step back and take a deep breath. Clear your head and think. Understand that you're not the only agent most likely in the transaction. So there's another usher, right? There's another, shepherd, if you will, that controls the other side's emotions and has all of their internalized kind of, emotion. And you need to understand that there's two mostly rational beings in a buyer and a seller that are just acting more emotionally right now because of the stress and pressure. And the more time you give, the more likely that these other parties come up with a solution also. So one thing my father taught me about real estate is that you never accept the first offer. That's one thing. But as a caveat to that, you learn more about someone's situation by their first counter, not their first offer. So if you're a seller, okay, you have to receive an offer, make a counter, and then see where the buyer comes back to really know where they're at, because the first offer is probably, from a buyer, is probably posturing. Now, this is not a caveat to that, is this is not in a, today's market of everything's over list price and nothing appraises and, there are no contingencies and the seller has all the power. This is not that situation. This is a more balanced negotiation, which is this akin to problem solving once you're in deal, once you're in a pending transaction. So let it breathe basically says that you need to learn where somebody comes from. Okay, where they're coming from. When you give them the opportunity to speak first in a problem-solving situation because you've gone quiet, you've not responded to a text message for an hour or 2 hours or 5 hours or an email in 24 hours, okay, the other side is then becoming more and more anxious by the moment as long as you're silent. And they feel pressure to provide a solution. That is the counter offer that you're looking to play off of. Their solution at minimum states what they're willing to do, but indicates that they're willing to go slightly further. If someone offers $10,000 as a concession, they're likely willing to go 15. There's usually another 50% available after that first counter. Right? Just like the first offer, usually, if you've got a $150,000 listing and you get a $100,000 offer, the buyer is likely to pay $125,000. The first offer usually gestures at a meet in the middle. Keep that in mind. It's the same thing on a repair negotiation. It's the same thing anytime a problem is out there to be solved. If a buyer comes 50% of the way on their first offer at a solution, they're likely to come another 25%. So understand that. Play off them by letting it breathe. All right, the next one. Fallacy, the probably most valuable fallacy to use in a negotiation or a problem-solving situation is the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy is, in other terms, is called being pot committed. When you're in a game of poker and you've got $10,000 on the table, I don't play poker that expensive, but let's presume you've got $10,000 on the table and you've got 2 more cards to see, you're more likely to call the next bet just to see the cards, even though there's a good chance you're going to get beat. So you're willing to commit another 2, 3, 5, 10,000 just to see the next 2 cards because you've sunk a lot of cost in that hand already. So when describing the sunk cost in a transaction, it goes something like this. Hey guys, I know we're kind of at odds. We've got a little separation here on this repair request. You want A, B, and C. We're only willing to do A. I think something that we should all consider is that we've been working on this for 30 days. We've come through a tough negotiation on price. You guys outbid all of our other bidders. We'd really not like to go back to market. We'd like to go ahead and see this thing through to the end. I know you've made effort. We've made effort. Appraisals have been ordered. Inspections are done. It's within our best interest to see if we can get to an agreement here because we've got a lot invested. The sunk cost fallacy is one of the most widely accepted logical fallacies that exist in our culture. And if you're not using it to your advantage, you're missing out. If the buyer wanted A, B, and C, let's say A, B, C, and D, and you're really only willing, you've only committed to doing A at this point, and you think you might be comfortable with doing B, but they've had a hard line wanting all 4 or we're going to walk, I would tell you, offer that and cite the sunk cost that the buyer has in the deal, and there is a likelihood that they will accept and move on, and it's all about the presentation. You need to prep the agent to turn around and sell that same logical fallacy to their client. But, I mean, the truth is, problem solving is an art. It's a talent. It needs to be developed over time. And you as a new agent in this industry are going to have a hard time if you don't sharpen these skills. You need to listen to this podcast. You need to go to trainings. You need to be talking with people in your office as a means of education, but you need to relish the experience that you have, the opportunities you have to build experience and use these things to hold your deals together. Remember, your success in this market hinges upon three things: the ability to get a multiple offer accepted. What is that? A negotiation. And a negotiation is nothing more than a problem to solve. Number two, getting listings from your sphere of influence. That's number two. And number three, your ability to problem solve and hold deals together. Two of three rely upon the ability to negotiate and solve problems. Sunk cost fallacy will get you part of the way there. It's most widely accepted, and if you're not using it, you are missing out. Let's see. Last but not least, this is more of an understanding, and it's a leverage point. And it kind of goes hand in hand, which is why I have it right after the sunk cost fallacy. Understanding that time is on your side, or ensuring that time is on your side. Orchestrating a situation where time is on your side. And this, I guess, goes into the let it breathe situation. And I'll disclaim, I'm not suggesting you do anything with these tactics to be underhanded, dishonest, immoral, or unethical. But the truth being that a problem on a transaction is more likely to be solved when there is less time between the problem arising and the ultimate conclusion of the transaction. If a problem comes up the day before closing, it's much more likely to be solved than if the problem comes up on the first day after the property goes pending. The buyer and the seller become more and more committed to the outcome as time progresses. Transactions that bust, they bust inordinately at a crazy high percentage in the first 10 days. Before inspections, now that has something to do with it. You know, there are inherent hurdles to any transaction, inspection, appraisal, etc. But the longer and deeper you get, and the more of those hurdles that are cleared, the more mentally committed a client is to the outcome of the transaction. They're more emotionally invested. More emotionally invested. Understanding that time is on your side is incredibly important. The more committed someone is to the conclusion, the more likely they are to find an amicable solution to any problem, big or small. Time is on your side. I'll remind you before we wrap today, a couple of universal truths about this real estate business. Number one, there is no substitute for experience. The only plausible option to make up for a lack of experience is education. You should be working through these dialogues on a daily and weekly basis with the problems that arise, even the small ones. And when you sharpen your skills on the small problems, they'll be more apt to work on large problems. Get the experience any way you can. When you can't find experience, settle for education. Number two, use these skills to win multiple offers and hold transactions together. And I would venture even to say that as you do that and become more comfortable, you'll find ways to apply these skills in communications with your sphere of influence to find those listings. And then you got a 3 for 3 of the things that are most impactful to ensuring success in today's market. And last but not least, I will remind you that your income is directly proportional to your ability to solve problems. In fact, the larger the problem you're capable of solving, the more money you will make as a real estate agent, because people don't care about your effort. I will repeat, people don't care about your effort. They care about the results that you get them. People don't want to hear that you've done your best. They want to hear that you've gotten the job done for them. No matter how much they like you, no matter how much they care, no matter how much they appreciate your efforts do not matter to them. They want to know that you've gotten the results. Negotiating and problem solving are two of the most impactful skills you can develop, and they're basically the same thing, and I bet you hadn't even thought about it. So put these 5 things together: the appeal to authority, the lesser evil principle, letting it breathe, the sunk cost fallacy, and time is on your side. Put those to work in your business on a day-to-day basis and watch your income explode in 2022. That's all I got for you this week, folks. As a reminder, you can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/jpitts, JPitts Realtor, youtube.com/JPitts Realtor for streaming the episode live every Wednesday around noon. You can also find on our channel all episodes, video format, full episodes, clips, anything video we do. Anything that Patrick produces for JT Pitts and Associates will be on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook.com/The Resource Podcast. Our premier distribution of content home is Instagram, though. You can find us there. You can find us on Reels. You can find us in the feed. You can find us on stories at JPitts Realtor on Instagram. We would appreciate a follow. North of 7,200 now, on our way to 10,000. You can find us on Twitter at JTPALouisville.com, at JTPA Louisville. At JTPA Louisville on Twitter. On TikTok, we would love a follow there at J_Pitts, trying to get, a little following built up there. Don't forget about our sister piece of content right now, JTP University, and our quick hits. We're putting out 4 a week, single, tactical, put to work in your business right away. Answers to simple questions in real estate. We're filming some more tomorrow to keep those coming your way. But you know what? I would just settle, frankly, for you listening to the message that I've given you today and putting it to use in your business, because you're going to make more money and you'll thank me later. That's all I got this week, folks. Once again, I am Jay Pitts, broker owner of RE/MAX Premier Properties, leader of JT Pitts and Associates. This has been Resource, Real Talk About Louisville Real Estate. We'll see you soon.